I've done several videos on this book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's basically a book on human psychology and specifically how things that have happened in our past, things that might have been embarrassing or that we regret or in some way wish hadn't happened, affect our sense of identity because we replay memories of these things over and over again, and they get drilled down into our unconscious and become part of our sense of self, and they affect us in the present and in terms of what we think we can do going forward. They affect choices we make today and choices we make in terms of the direction we want to go moving forward. And he cites a psychologist who examined people under a hypnotic state. And like specifically, these people might have been naturally introverted, naturally shy, naturally reserved, but under a hypnotic state, they could be really outgoing, totally uninhibited. And the psychologist's takeaway was that it was like, the inhibitions that these people feel really are psychological. It's like part of their identity. Things that they remember things from the past that negatively affected them, emotionally, and so they're like, oh, I don't want to do that going forward. Like whether it's like, performing in front of large crowds or being, comfortable in a group of people that they don't necessarily know. And so, it was really the idea of, these inhibitions affect us every day, and when you're in these special states like a hypnotic state, it exposes the power that these inhibitions have over us, in terms of our sense of identity. And the author Maxwell Maltz talks about, other people who, again, let's suppose they're naturally reserved, naturally shy, introverted, would feel very self-conscious in big groups, particularly groups of people that they don't know, groups of strangers. And, again, it was like this thing of like, well, they're very self-conscious, meaning, they're in their own heads. They're thinking about, oh, what are other people going to think of me if I say something or if I don't say anything? And they're so focused on themselves that they create these psychological inhibitions, just like, these people who, would have acted were they not under a hypnotic state. And one of the things that the author suggests is that, well, in both cases, okay, it's like you're in your own head. You're focused on your own psychology, often like your own memories of things that have happened in the past, your own sense of identity, and his suggestion is to get out of your own head and quit being, or to try to not be so, self-conscious and inhibited. Try to simply observe your surroundings and focus on things outside of you. So it's like, what sounds, can you hear? Can you focus on specific details, that you see? Like if you're in a group of people and you're feeling really nervous and you're shy about going up and meeting people you don't necessarily know. It's like, well, maybe instead of being in your own head, you can focus on certain details. Like you go up to some guy at a business meeting and it's like, well, what does his tie look like? And you focus on details of his tie, not like necessarily staring there, but anything that can help you get out of your own psychology. It's like, well, how does your weight feel against your feet, walking on the ground or whatever? Are there any specific smells? But it's the idea of getting out of your head, using your senses to connect you to the outside world, to other people, right? So you can focus on being receptive and open to connections, outside of yourself. So I thought that was a really good point. And this is not unusual. Like, when we meditate, right? I mean, meditation, you're often focused on yourself, but it's the idea of, in order to calm yourself, you focus on a specific thing. So whether it's a specific sound or you close your eyes and you focus on a specific image that you can imagine, it's the same idea where it's like, if your thoughts and your emotions are so frazzled, right, you try to focus on a detail or certain details or things that are outside of your own thoughts and emotions that can help calm you down. So I thought that was, a really excellent suggestion. And then he quotes Pavlov, the famous Russian neurologist, psychologist, with his famous dogs, the salivating dogs. And Pavlov's suggestion to his students where they were like, well, how do we make, psychological changes, and, things like this, whether it's, human or animals or whatever, and his suggestion was two things: passion and gradualism, meaning it's like, if you truly want to change something about, say, your own psychology, maybe you're introverted, you want to become more extroverted. If you truly want to do it, right, that really helps, right? Having the passion to want to change. But his other point was gradualism. Like, a lot of times, things about our psychology will take a long time to change because, things that are really emotionally charged within us are often strongly part of our sense of identity, right? And the unconscious mind is not too happy about changing, your sense of identity too easily. So, it takes time. But, the more passion that you have for, making changes that you want to make, and the more patient that you are, in terms of making these changes, eventually you might be able to see some real progress. So that was it for this book. I just wanted to get through, the remaining things, and I thought these were some really good points to talk about. I hope you have a great day. Bye.